Tiffany Henyard's time in public office will likely be remembered not for progress or policy, but for excess, scandal, and erosion of public trust. At one point holding two influential elected positions simultaneously, mayor of Dalton, Illinois, and supervisor of Thornton Township, Henyard managed to draw in a staggering income that raised eyebrows even in more affluent municipalities. Her total compensation far exceeded that of Chicago's mayor, despite Dalton being a small, economically challenged town. Her inflated earnings weren't just from base salary. Henyard received $282,000 from Thornton Township alone, alongside a $4,900 monthly expense allowance and a $100 monthly vehicle stipend. Meanwhile, Dalton taxpayers funded two luxury SUVs used by police officers to chauffeur her around town, vehicles that cost the town well into six figures. All in, Henyard was receiving nearly $6,000 per month just in perks. This lavish compensation, occurring in a community grappling with budget shortfalls and service cutbacks, did not go unnoticed. Alarm bells rang across the political spectrum, and federal authorities eventually stepped in. The FBI has since launched an active investigation into Henyard's entire tenure, both in Dalton and in Thornton Township. Within the past month, subpoenas have been issued and several current and former township employees have been questioned. The probe is said to focus on Henyard's spending habits and major administrative decisions made during her controversial dual leadership roles. As her term neared its end in May, the scrutiny only intensified. Federal agents ramped up their activity, signaling that Henyard's political insulation was gone. At the same time, voters in Dalton made a decisive move to close this chapter of their town's history. A new mayor in a new era. In a landslide primary election, Jason House unseated Henyard, earning a sweeping mandate from residents who had grown weary of dysfunction and scandal. Upon being sworn in, House stood solemnly before Dalton officials and recited his oath. Asterisk, I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Illinois and faithfully discharge the duties of mayor to the best of my ability. Asterisk, this wasn't just a ceremonial swearing in. It was a long-awaited breath of fresh air for Dalton. For House's supporters, this was more than a political victory. It was deeply personal. They had poured time, money, and energy into ousting an administration they viewed as arrogant and damaging. Dalton residents responded with celebration, applause, and even tears. After years of what many described as misrule, they had spoken clearly. The status quo was no longer acceptable. Henyard's defeat wasn't just a political loss. It was a collective rebuke from a community that had been pushed too far. Federal spotlight. Will charges follow? With Henyard's political immunity gone, speculation has surged about the possibility of criminal charges. The indicators are hard to ignore. Multiple federal raids, financial inconsistencies, cooperative witnesses, and a growing stack of subpoenas. In most scenarios, such signs would strongly suggest that an indictment is on the horizon. But those familiar with how federal investigations unfold know better than to make assumptions. The FBI works at its own pace. Even when there's overwhelming smoke, fire isn't always guaranteed or immediate. That said, public confirmation of grand jury activity related to Henyard is a serious development. It's a clear indication that the gears of justice are turning, albeit slowly. For those placing bets, the odds seem increasingly to favor an eventual indictment. A mountain of documentation, witness accounts, and apparent misuse of public funds paints a troubling picture. And the attention on Henyard isn't fading. From watchdog groups to national media, the scrutiny remains intense. Her legacy, written in controversy, isn't behind her. Whether she ends up indicted, arrested, or quietly disappears from public life, one thing is certain. Her name will be forever associated with one of Dalton's darkest political chapters. The scandals that shattered her career, Henyard's downfall didn't come from one mistake. It was the accumulation of many. And some of the most damaging scandals involved not just money, but public safety and blatant cronyism. One of the most shocking revelations involved her hiring of Lavish Redmond, a registered sex offender and personal friend. Despite his criminal history, including a 25-year sentence for the gang rape and brutal beating of two teenage girls, Redmond was placed on the public payroll as a code enforcement officer. Even more disturbing, his duties brought him directly into residents' homes. Henyard hired Redmond without board approval in September. When the media exposed the hire, he was rearrested for failing to comply with sex offender registry reporting requirements. Community outrage was swift and fierce. The scandals continued. Henyard developed a reputation for lavish spending, but also for rewarding loyalty, especially among her personal security detail. After becoming mayor in 2021, she began hand-picking Dalton police officers to protect her. Their paychecks ballooned. Freedom of Information Act requests revealed that members of her security team regularly claimed over 100 hours in 2-week periods. One officer, Terry Young, logged an implausible 303 hours in just 14 days, earning a $13,000 paycheck. With only 336 hours in a 2-week span, Young was effectively being paid for nearly every waking moment. The incident raised serious questions about payroll abuse and favoritism. While her inner circle was enriched, the village's financial health crumbled. Henyard's mismanagement pushed Dalton from a $5.6 million surplus in 2022 to a multi-million-dollar deficit by 2024. Trust in the local government was similarly eroded. Then there were the power plays. In one infamous move, Henyard locked village trustees out of town hall to prevent a scheduled board meeting from taking place. With no alternative, the board was forced to conduct official business outside in a parking lot. The motive? According to trustees, there were agenda items Henyard wanted to block. The Vegas trips and questionable. Luxury asterisk while basic services in Dalton were deteriorating. Henyard was jetting off to Las Vegas on the taxpayers' dime. Though officially described as a trip to attend a shopping center convention, no records have shown whether any economic benefit came from the travel. Even more baffling, village trustees claimed they weren't informed of the trip's budget or purpose. In a heated board meeting, one official denied involvement with the credit card used for the trip, but when pressed, they admitted, of course I went to Las Vegas. Charges from the trip remain murky, but in the eyes of residents, it was yet another example of tone-deaf governance. Chaos at the council. From scandal to physical brawls, Henyard's controversies weren't confined to budget lines and hiring practices. They spilled into physical altercations. At a township meeting in Thornton, tensions erupted after local activist Jediah Brown called Henyard a vulgar name during public comment. As he approached the mayor's table, Henyard's supporters, including her boyfriend, stood to confront him. The confrontation escalated into a fistfight. In a shocking twist, Henyard herself joined the brawl. It's one thing when the guys were fighting, one witness recounted, but when she jumped in, I was floored. An unsustainable reign ends throughout all this turmoil. Henyard continued to draw a hefty paycheck. In 2022, her dual roles brought her over $287,000. By the end of her term, citing job stress, she approved a raise for herself, pushing her annual income over $347,000. That figure exceeded the salary of Chicago's mayor. By any standard, Henyard's tenure was marked by controversy, dysfunction, and deep public dissatisfaction. She had once seemed untouchable, supported by powerful allies and a strong political base. But in the end, the scandals proved too great to ignore. The verdict from voters at 10 p.m. on election night, the results were in. Jason House had defeated Henyard in a landslide. The margin wasn't close, and the message was even clearer. Dalton was done. Done with scandal. Done with chaos. Done with Tiffany Henyard. And while the political chapter has closed, the legal one may just be beginning.